Okay, so I'm gonna do 3 quick videos. I know that I am extremely behind on Salt Lake City, so I'm gonna do that. And I am behind on um like this. Okay, and I'm behind on um Married to Medicine. I have listened to everything, all of the different commentary. Uh put I just have not watched the episode yet. So let's talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Oh, and I'm behind on Bell Collective. Oh, I'll catch up. Love and Marriage Huntsville. What is this? Season 6, episode 27. That seems long, but okay. Kimmy and Maurice finished. They're at the building. They're supposed to be building. They're supposed to take it took 8 months to remodel this office. She's really emphasizing the fact that he's not being handy. She's like, "What happened to my husband? That was extremely handy when we first got together." She wants him to help more. I put in my notes, he's lazy. hmm Tells Maurice, she does tell Maurice about Tisha and Kimmy and the fact, wait, no, she tells Keisha, no, Kimmy tells Maurice about Tisha and Marceau and how Tisha feels overwhelmed. And then she took a pregnancy test when they went to their outing. And Maurice is like, I think she needs to go to Africa. I mean, I don't know how to interpret that because I mean, clearly it's like, well, she needs a break. But then I also am thinking, I don't know. Are you insinuating? I'm assuming that you're insinuating that she needs to decompress. I'm not assuming that you're thinking that she needs to be cheating. Um, Tisha and Stormy, they meet up and Tisha's trying to remodel and get another office. Stormy's trying to be as polite as she can be. Look, Stormy um was all upset with Mel and one because Mel was cool on these people and she felt and Stormy thought that she was being too harsh. And now she's discovering for herself that Tisha is a problem. She's not credible. Stormy and her friends, um, Stormy's like, have you talked to Kiki? Um, it was interesting. I did listen to Tisha did an interview with Lateishia, and Tisha was annoyed that she feels that Stormy was insinuating that her husband was cheating by making comments about him going to Colombia and saying it's not the brothel spot and trying to say that they don't look, I don't know if anybody's cheating on anybody, but I do think that it's very difficult to have your relationship on Front Street. And I personally wouldn't because I know people would be like, people's comments on your marriage, because everybody's marriage looks cool from a distance. But when you start hearing all of these other additional comments, then it makes what you think from afar, you standing afar, then you get up close to it, then you're like, oh, this marriage sucks. I can't deal with that. But it's like you realize you can't deal with some of your own, other people can say the same thing about your own marriage. I was explaining to a friend of mine who has loved to death years ago. She still wanted to get married. She can't have children anymore, but I was like, ma'am, relationships are not like Cliff and Claire Huxtable. She's like, well, I wanted that. And I was like, it's not happening. Number one, it's scripted. And number two, it's, that's not how this works. And if you think about it, Cliff and Claire Huxtable, the challenges that they went through were very minimal in comparison to what a lot of other people's challenges are. Not to say that they didn't have their challenges on the show, The Cosby Show. I don't care about what, I mean, whatever Bill Cosby did is his business. But the show is still great. I don't know. Anyway, so Tisha went to Vegas, Marcel. Okay, so I did all that. Um, Tisha does make a jab at Stormy saying, well, maybe you should play a little more. I thought that was a little strange because here's another concept. Stormy is insanely successful. Tisha cannot be making these. Tisha, maybe you shouldn't. It's hard for you to, talking about trying to judge somebody's work ethic, especially when, let's flip. Stormy said you should have called her in regards to this website because she felt that the website, Tisha felt that it was not her fault, that it was all these other people that work for her, the web person. She's like, I won't be doing business with you anymore. And Stormy's like, you should have called me because it wasn't a good look for you. Tisha doesn't, it's like, it wasn't a good look. I got sales, so what's the problem? And she's like, well, people have been coming at me, Stormy. People been coming at me because of what happened with you. And Stormy's like, you should have at least called me. Tisha's like, you could have called me. And Stormy's like, I did call. And that's what's so strange. You're the one who did something wrong. You plagiarized. But you expect her to call you, I guess. And Stormy's like, look, your launch was overshadowed. She's like, well, I got sales, so it's not a big deal. So Stormy's beginning to realize that the way that she moves and business practices aren't ethical. And in the back of her head, she's probably like, Mel was right. Because Tisha takes everybody else's idea. She doesn't come up with a new idea. She takes everybody else's idea. And it doesn't come out as successful as anybody else's at all. And that's because she's copying everyone. Chris and Nell talk about Chris Jr. and Nell got a lot of pushback all over the place about this, about how insensitive she seems to be. I think Nell is just tired of her child not, there's a sense of you hate to hear excuses. Like, I just, I can be on your team I'm still on your team. I'm just tired. Like, because, and when I used to pledge people, the one thing I would always say is, no one cares about your excuse. People only care about results. And that's and I will say that's my downfall because I will work through anything. And I may not do everything I'm supposed to do, everything I'm slated, but I will at least do more than 50% if I'm going through something because nobody cares. Nobody cares if your parent dies. Nobody cares if you're homeless. Like, nobody cares if your life is falling apart. They care about, are you doing your results? So I get the frustration that Nell is having, but I know that it shows on camera that it looks like she's being too insensitive. So Tisha, Kimmy, and Mel are together to get a pedicure. Kimmy asked Tisha, did you tell Marcel about the pregnancy test? She's like, no, and she starts laughing. So when Mel comes in, Kimmy's like, "You do share a lot of your life on social media." And she's like, "Well, my fans want to know a lot about what's going on." Then it started this whole conversation about the name and why Kimmy feels slighted because she wasn't invited to the name party. And Mel's like, "Look, if I were to invite you, then your husband would come, then everyone would be throwing this in the face of Martell. And I did not want that. I just wanted it to focus on me." And I think that's a legit thing. Then it went into Kimmy talking about the importance of having a last name as with your kids. I changed my name because of my kids. And also because I felt that it's something that, even though my husband said he didn't care, he made a statement about my name changing. So he clearly cares, right? And so I definitely um understood that. But then I also understand when I get divorced, well, not when, if I were to ever get divorced, I don't want to get divorced. If I were to ever get divorced, I'm taking my name back. Think I had a name before we did get together and we built something. But after that, I'm taking my name back. So I didn't see Kimmy's point. Mel was being as pleasant as possible. Um, Mel and Tisha talked about, Tisha tried to apologize for having an attitude with Mel. Mel was like, "Well, you did not want to hear me talk." And she's like, "Well, I just was over everything." I don't believe Tisha. Mel doesn't either, but it's, at least they're cool. Um, and they don't want to unblock each other on social media. Their reason for keeping each other blocked is stupid. Finally, Stormy and Courtney, they're talking about the website. They're supposed to be they are at the pool hall. They're doing a double date with Tisha and Marcel. She's discovering that she really doesn't think that she likes Tisha that much because of the interaction that she had. Um, they had uh, Tisha and Marcel show up an hour and a half late. I'm gonna let you know right now. That's enough for me to not be happy. So they're bringing up the whole name calling and calling him Mr. Steele, and Marcel feeling uncomfortable with and not checking your wife for calling me out of my name. And um, Stormy doubles down on it. Um, and then Tisha's like, I think that she's, trying to, Tisha's like, "Look, this is kind of rude." Um, and then the whole comment about how the word, calling men a bitch is used in her culture. And he's like, "I don't have time to learn culture." And then Tisha gets annoyed because at that point, Stormy's like, "You know what, this is a wrap." So she's all like, "I gotta take him a phone call. I might as well. Look, time is money. This is business. I'm dealing with this. I'm not dealing with you." So then Tisha gets annoyed. She's like, "Well, why would you invite us if you're not going to stay? Look, ma'am, you're an hour and a half late. We're already on a bad foot when you show up an hour and a half. Like, we already weren't the coolest, but then you show up an hour and a half late, we on a bad foot. And I ain't staying long." So people interpreted this as Stormy wanted her husband to kind of get into a fight. I didn't see that. I just saw that as, you know what, we ain't good. We're cordial. And the next episode picks up where this one leaves off. So I'm gonna stop and move to the next one.